Hey guys, it's Elena, and this is What Was Meant. I wanted to hop on here really quick to tell you about something that happened just a few days ago. Last Friday, I posted a video about 13 weapons that the narcissistic father uses to try to destroy his daughter. And 3 days after that, I started to get messages from my written blog saying that someone was posting on it, posting comments. And they posted 5 comments within 13 minutes. And when I read the comments, I immediately saw a couple of things. First of all, the comments were meant to discredit me and to silence me and to gaslight both myself and anyone reading my blog. But also, the comments were clearly written by someone that I knew and someone that I cut off 30 years ago, and that was my father. So just to confirm that, I did a quick search of his IP address and saw that, yes, indeed, it came from Seattle. And then I searched for his Google address, and the first result gave me my father's full name as associated with that email address. So definitely from my father. But it was a clear example of how a malignant narcissist tries to rewrite history and discredit survivors. And so with that being the case, thank you for the free material to my father, who I no longer speak with as of 30 years ago. But I want to go through it with you one line by line and explain to you and break down exactly how and why this is a textbook example of a narcissist at work trying to discredit the survivor and the person that they abused. And so let me pick up my tablet here, and I'm going to read line by line, and I'm going to break it down line by line for you. It's good because you hardly ever get something in writing that is a clear example, but this is perfect. So let me start with what he did. So the first step, the first part of his comment here, the first comment, which was the longest, is the one I'm going to go over today. It says, "This is a very difficult story to digest. I personally know the people that are being referenced here." So here he's pretending to be a neutral outsider. And I should mention that he wrote all this under a fake name. And so when I saw this fake name and I saw this person was saying that they were a close family friend who knew everybody involved, it kind of, didn't recognize the name and quickly figured out who it was. So when he says this is a very difficult story to digest, and I personally knew the people that are being referenced here, what he's doing there is trying to establish a false authority. So he's coming in and saying, look, I'm a neutral third party. I know everybody here. Boy, am I shocked by what this person wrote. She must be, making things up. So that's first establishing that. Here I am. This is my false authority. The second step, pure gaslighting. He writes, "Knowing the details, I am aware that much said here leaves immense room for doubt that this story is accurate." So in this one, it's just pure gaslighting. He claims to know the details, but he offers no proof of what those details are, right? And it's just a way of a narcissist and an abuser trying to make people question your truth. So trying to question my truth without being accountable for what he actually did, which is the true things that I put out there. Because one thing I have to say as a side note is that when you're raised in a family with narcissists and gaslighting and that kind of thing, when you come out of it, the last thing you want in your life is lies. And so I've become an open book, and my story has never changed because it's the truth. When you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything because you don't have to keep track of your lies. They're the truth. So this was trying to gaslight and trying to call into question the truth that I put into what I write and what I put on this channel. Step 3, there's actually a name for what he did with step 3. This is the third part of his comment, and it's called DARVO, which stands for deny, attack, and then reverse the victim and offender. So in this, he's denying what happened, attacking, and then reversing the victim and making them the offender while making the offender the victim, okay? And he says, "True that many people have endured some sort of trauma in their life, but I see no valid reason to viciously defame the character of individuals where only one side of the story is being told." So this is classic DARVO. He's minimizing trauma, right? Calling it some sort of trauma. And then he's flipping the script, calling the truth defamation and making himself then into the victim and not the offender. And I have to mention my mother, funnily enough, about 5 or 6 years ago, did this exact same thing. Got on my written blog, did several comments that were written under a false name and then tried to call into question the story that I wrote in the various posts on my blog. And so this DARVO thing is a technique that is used most often, and very frequently by people that are malignant narcissists. My mother also tried this same thing in person when, in 1997, when my sister had her first child, and I went to the hospital with my husband, and we were out in a waiting area with my mother, the doula, nurse, hospital staff, and my set of my grandparents that were there. And she tried to speak to my husband, and he said, "I don't want to speak to you." And she says, "Well, you only heard Elena's side of the story." But the thing that she didn't count on in that instance is that I had 2 years almost since at that time since I had cut them off, and I had healed and grown a lot in that time, at least to the point where I wasn't going to take that anymore. And so when she said, "You've only heard her side of the story," I quickly said, "Well, fine, we're all here. Everybody's here. You have a captive audience. What is your side of the story? Did or did not these things happen?" And listed several of the things that I talk about in my videos and on my blog. And she was stunned into silence. She didn't know what to do. That's what they expect, is that when they say this kind of thing, two sides to every story and all that you're just going to shut down and be afraid, right? And afraid that nobody will believe you. But if you're speaking the truth, your genuineness comes through when you speak and when you write your truth, and it's something that's very important. And so that's what he's doing there, is positioning himself in this DARVO as the victim, and then making me into the offender for telling the truth. Step 4, undermining my supporters. And so what he did here was he said, "It would appear to me that most are believing without questioning a single point of view or its validity." So he's attacking my readers there and saying they're gullible and they're too foolish to be able to tell when something is true versus when something is false, right? And it's kind of funny because here he is writing under a false name, claiming to be someone who doesn't exist, a family friend who knows all of the dynamics but is shocked, right? But then he's accusing and saying that my readers are somehow gullible and stupid for believing the truth as I've written it. The 5th one, projection. So he says, over time when an event is being told that is lacking total truth, it can become a falsely lived truth in the comfort of a lie to vindicate unfounded behavior, right? And so what he's doing here is describing his own behavior. He's projecting how he rewrites history, how he started to take things that he did, and instead of being held accountable for them or taking accountability for what he did, he instead decided to rewrite it to the point where maybe he believes his lies, although I know that at the heart of it, he knows that what I'm saying is true, and he knows what he did. And he just doesn't like being discovered or being outed and having someone speak that truth, especially not me, who, the family felt was the person they could dump on and would never fight back, right? Okay, so that's what that is. Now, step 6, the next part of it, character assassination. He writes, "I would also venture to surmise that Elena truly needs some professional help. She carries deep wounds and misplaced blame has been misdirected." Not only does that sentence not really make any sense, but he's trying to say that I'm crazy. It's the usual, oh, she's crazy. She's misdirecting everything. She's misplacing the blame. She doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. And at the end of it, she's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Yeah. Okay. The 7th step, triangulation. And what he says on here is, after hearing stories about her husband, I can see where and why she is misguided and manipulated. So he's dragging my husband into this. Now, I've been married to my husband for 31 years, 1 year longer than I've been separated from all those people that I kicked to the curb 30 years ago next month, right? He's bringing him into it and saying that obviously my husband must have manipulated me and misguided me because, I can't be smart enough to have my own brain and make my own decisions, right? So not only is he putting me down and saying that I'm just that, easily manipulated, because he thinks I am, because he did that for so many years to me, but then he's trying to blame my husband and bring him into it. And maybe, if he really thinks I'm that easily manipulated, then he's thinking that he can drive a wedge in our marriage of 31 years, which not going to happen. And it's also finding someone to blame. like I said, when it comes to malignantly narcissistic fathers with their daughters, a lot of times what they do is they claim ownership of you. So if your husband, if you get married, right, and you have a spouse, and that person is now the biggest or best, or what am I trying to say, is now the strongest relationship that you have, right? Then of course he's going to try to dismantle that, because after all, he has ownership of you, right? Even if it's been 30 years, apparently. Okay, so that's that one. Now, step 8 is false moral high ground. And here's what he says. He says, the ongoing perpetuation of vicious and callous defamation filled with vitriol is truly disheartening and a damning testimony of a real need to seek help, be truthful, and heal. So finally, this is him trying to take the moral high ground, right? He's pretending he's concerned and he's speaking from compassion. And you know, she just really needs some help. She just really needs to, you know, to heal and get some help. It's playing this compassionate angle, feeling sorry for me, and just, you know, wow, I just really think, I hope she gets the help she needs, because obviously, you know, she's got to be, you know, mentally disturbed to write all this truth and to turn on us this way. That's what that is, establishing the moral high ground. So in this one paragraph, he goes through 8 different tactics of a malignant narcissist so clearly and so succinctly, and it's amazing. And it's just this great example that if you have had that kind of experience in your life with someone trying to discredit you, I'm sure you recognize a lot of this, but very rarely do you get it all in writing. And speaking of it all being in writing, I have letters from my mother that were written to me in 2001, along with my response to her, that I'm going to be sharing in my upcoming video. That'll be next. I'm trying to get that up by next week. And so just, if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe and like, and get ready for this next masterclass in what a malignant narcissist does when their target breaks free and starts to tell the truth and reclaims their own power and their own voice back. So just wanted to share that with you. It was very interesting that came up so quickly after my last video about the narcissistic father. But it now is, we have like 2 little matching videos. And what I'll do now is put together the one with the mother that will go along with my covert narcissist video that I did 2 videos ago. And if you have any comments, or if you've experienced the same kind of thing, please comment and tell me about that. If you have any ideas for future videos, tell me about that too. I have 30 plus years, actually 55 years of material. So I'm going to keep on sharing those things, and in the attempt to help you to identify what's going on in your life, and give you support if you decide to either break away completely like I did 30 years ago, or set up some boundaries in your life, but give you that platform where you can also use your voice and make these decisions that are the healthiest things for your mental health, like I did, and never would regret. All right, take good care, have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you next time.